morning, my hardcore students. I'm your hardcore teacher, Menopause Taylor, bringing you another practical lesson on menopause. Today, we're going to talk about what gets harder at menopause. Now, I know you're rolling your eyes. This is part of my series called WHAM, for what happens at menopause. And the fact is that many things get harder at menopause. A couple of things get harder in the anatomical or physical sense, and a bunch of things get harder in the social or emotional sense. So I'm going to lay out all the things that get harder and hopefully make it easier for you to understand why they get harder. I'll categorize these things as we go along. First, we have the anatomical parts of your body that get harder at menopause, and they include your heart arteries and your ovaries. So we're going to start with your heart arteries. And of everything we'll discuss today, they are by far the most important aspect of hardening. I've told you many times that heart attacks kill 1 out of 2 women at menopause. That one statistic is more important than anything else you will ever learn about menopause. And the very reason that 1 out of 2 women die of a heart attack is because your arteries literally get harder at menopause. You've probably heard the term hardening of the arteries. Well, that's exactly what happens. Your heart arteries go from being soft to becoming hard. Before menopause, your heart arteries are like this tubing, soft and supple. And estrogen is what makes them so soft and supple. And when you lose your estrogen, your arteries start aging. For arteries, aging means hardening. So, as your arteries age, they get stiffer. They become more like this hose. They're not as soft and supple as they once were. And with time, they even get harder, so hard that they're brittle. They get hard like this metal rod. So over time, they change a lot. They go from this to this to this. Okay? You've seen that before, but I like to re-emphasize it. The harder your arteries get, the higher your risk of heart attack, period, and stroke, and blood clots. And the very reason this happens is the absence of estrogen. Now, in videos 80 through 90, I taught you about the estrogen window of opportunity. It pertains to the first 5 to 10 years of your postmenopause. And it's when you can still start taking estrogen to prevent a heart attack, as well as to prevent osteoporosis and Alzheimer's. Well, the estrogen window is all about timing. Hardening of your arteries is all about timing. Everything is about timing. The bottom line is that if you take estrogen early in your postmenopause, before your arteries get hard, the benefits greatly outweigh the risks. Why? Because estrogen is what keeps your arteries soft and supple and prevents hardening in the first place. But if you go along enough without estrogen and let your arteries get hard and then take estrogen, the risks outweigh the benefits. Why? Because by that time, your arteries are already too hard. They can no longer handle what they used to need. Starting estrogen too late causes more harm than good. You see, it's timing. This is why women sometimes think that there is conflicting information or differing opinions on the effect of estrogen and heart attacks. There is no conflict. It has nothing to do with anyone's opinion. It's all about timing of estrogen replacement. If you start early, it prevents a heart attack. If you start late, it can cause a heart attack. That's it. This is why it is so important to get this education early. The longer you wait, the more limited your options. Okay, the next anatomical part that hardens at menopause is your ovaries. Before menopause, your ovaries are in the business of producing eggs and estrogen. They are a factory. They're big, they're plump, they're glistening, and they're white. Every month they manufacture an egg. All month they're pouring out estrogen. At postmenopause, they shut down and the whole factory goes out of business. So your ovaries shrink, dry up, harden, and lay dormant. They become more like this. They become so small that they're really hard to find. This is why it is never, never normal for a postmenopausal woman to have an ovarian cyst. Postmenopausal ovaries are supposed to be tiny, hard, and completely inactive. Enlargement suggests something that is definitely not normal. Okay, so next is the category of things that become harder physically. They include weight management, exercise, a good night's sleep, and resisting alcohol. Maintaining your weight becomes harder. Why? Because your metabolism slows down a lot at menopause. Your body processes food differently. The things you used to eat without any consequence now put weight on you. Even if you change nothing about the way you eat, you will gain some weight. And most of your weight gain will be right in your abdominal region. And guess what? Weight in your abdominal region is the hardest weight to lose. So no matter what, weight maintenance and definitely weight loss are much harder at menopause. So, when maintaining your weight gets harder, what do? You exercise. The problem is, exercise gets harder at menopause too. Your joints hurt, your energy level isn't what it used to be, and you hurt yourself more easily. Exercise that involves impact, speed, or heavy weights tends to be what people use to lose or maintain their weight. But that's the very type of exercise that gets harder at menopause. Sounds like a vicious cycle, doesn't it? Well, it is. And part of the reason that both weight maintenance and exercise are harder is because the next factor, getting a good night's sleep, gets harder also. At menopause, it's harder to fall asleep, stay asleep, sleep all the way through the night, or get deep, solid sleep. And that makes everything you need to do throughout the day harder too. And the last thing that becomes physically harder at menopause is resisting alcohol. You know, every hormonal phase of your life involves cravings. At puberty, it's carbs. With PMS, it's caffeine and chocolate. During pregnancy, it's pickles. And at menopause, it's alcohol. Surprisingly, most women are unaware that craving alcohol or even abusing alcohol is such a common problem at menopause. And that's because they don't talk about it. In fact, they conceal it. Menopausal women walk around with water bottles full of alcohol. They start drinking at 9 or 10 in the morning, and they drink all day long. They are absolutely addicted to their alcohol, and it's a hard addiction to break. So next is the category of things that get harder socially at menopause. They include getting a job, keeping a job, and taking care of your aging parents. Many women decide to go back to work at the time of menopause. Their kids have left home, their family duties have lessened, and they miss being part of the workforce. But what they discover is that getting a job is very hard. Despite the fact that menopausal women make great employees, they have a hard time finding anyone who will employ them. So many of the skills that are lacking in younger employees come so easily to menopausal women. But employers tend to reject women of menopausal age, especially if they've been out of the workforce for a long time. And if you already have a job, you find that it's harder and harder to keep it. Whether that's because all your symptoms of menopause make it harder for you to actually do the job, or it's because younger employees are vying for your job, it's hard. There aren't any accommodations for menopausal women in the workplace. Not one. No fans, no rooms for resting, no time off, nothing. Menopausal women who work will tell you that it gets harder and harder to keep up with their work. Many women eventually quit simply because they find it too hard to manage both their work and their menopause. And next comes the issue of your aging parents. I gave you a video tutorial on this long ago. It was video number 73. It is so common for the caretaking responsibilities of aging parents to fall on women. And it just so happens that the time at which those responsibilities become necessary is right smack dab in the throes of menopause for most women. There couldn't be a harder time to deal with aging and infirm parents. For some women, this turns out to be the hardest aspect of menopause. And finally, we have the category of things that get emotionally harder at menopause. They include your personality, putting up with a domineering partner, and acquiescence. Face it, your personality gets harder at menopause. You know how men tend to mellow as they age? Well, women do just the opposite. They harden. In video 72, I depicted the many ways in which men and women trade places at menopause, and this is one of them. And it makes perfect sense. You lose your estrogen, which used to make you soft and sweet, and men have a decrease in their testosterone, which used to make them so hard and brutish. At menopause, we switch. For some women, this hardening is a good thing. It makes them stronger, more confident, and more assertive. For others, it's a bad thing. It makes them mean and argumentative. This hardening of your personality creates the next emotionally hard dynamic with your partner. If you've been the submissive wife for a long time, this hardening of your personality can make getting along with your controlling partner a lot harder. Menopause involves a lot of clashes within couples. Many consider divorce or pursue divorce, and this is one of the reasons why. By the time they're menopausal, many women realize that they don't need a man to take care of them anymore. That can be hard on the relationship. And the very last thing that gets harder at menopause is acquiescence. You used to easily agree to things. You did so because you wanted everyone to get along. And you wanted as much togetherness with your family as possible. You created events and occasions to bring everyone together because you were the glue. Well, at menopause, mama comes unglued, and I mean that quite literally. There's actually a physiologic basis for this. It's your hormone called oxytocin. It's the hormone of peace and love. And before menopause, you have it in abundance. It's what makes you fall in love with your man, adore your children, and do anything to make them happy. Well, guess what? At menopause, it practically disappears. And without oxytocin, you really don't care about being the glue anymore. You want to do your own thing. It becomes much harder for you to go along with the plan. So as you can see, a lot of things get harder at menopause. And now you understand the reasons why. Eventually, I'll be giving you individual tutorials on each and everything with all the management options in every category, and I'll teach you how to make everything easier at menopause. For now, I want you to see these common threads. So join me in a week when I'll discuss all the things that appear at menopause. And if you schedule a one-on-one consultation, I'll teach you how to make all your menopausal issues easier right now. So, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Don't miss a single video. Watch them in order. And I'll see you in a week. Bye.